And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we are going to be talking about the Isaiah Stewart situation going on in Detroit right now, and the recent little scuffle that he had with Drew Eubanks in the tunnel. There was an update recently about like 20 minutes before this stream, so I guess that's about like I'd say maybe like an hour ago, saying that Isaiah Stewart's, there was footage that the NBA reviewed about that showed Isaiah Stewart punching Drew Eubanks in the face. This was allegedly like a sucker punch, like according to the article. So he was arrested, issued a citation, and I didn't think that there was going to be nothing much left of that case. Like, I mean, it was just a sucker punch, like they'll just go on about their business, but it turns out now there's a whole court case on the matter, and he's been scheduled to go. He was arrested February 14th, and his first day in court is scheduled to be arranged on Friday, February 23rd. So it's going to be coming this week, and I don't know entirely like what the charges are going to be. And how many of and like if he can pay them off. He probably should, given how he'll have good lawyers, but again, like this is just more distraction for a disorganized organization with the Detroit Pistons. I mean, the Pistons so far this year, they haven't had the best year whatsoever, and this court case that was issued that is going to bring Isaiah Stewart to court is just a big distraction for the team that's trying to rebuild and trying to sort of change the perception that they have with the rest of the league, because to the rest of the league it's like they're a joke. And so far with this court case and like all of this off the court stuff, it really doesn't look like that opinion is going to change, because this scuffle happened before the game. This didn't even happen like during the game or like after the game. This happened before the game even started. So there still hasn't been any sort of footage or any sort of press release on what was said in the exchange, like what caused Isaiah Stewart to react the way that he did, and what caused him to sucker punch Drew Eubanks. But again, like still, there's no room for that in this league. I said this previously, like on previous podcasts, how violence in the NBA from a lot of the players is really frowned upon. But I didn't really get to talk about like how it's dealt with in game, and about how like, because right now the refs and the NBA as a whole, they really cracked down on players throwing these kinds of temper tantrums, both in game, before the game, after the game, and whatnot. And like it results in a lot of fines most of the time if a player does act out unnecessarily. And it also results, if it's in game, it results in a bunch of technicals being thrown at either one player or both of the players involved. So they're definitely cracked down on like players having unnecessary outbursts in front of fans and in front of, because while fans are watching, like kids are also watching this as well, and you don't want your kid to sort of do the exact same thing that one of the players that they're watching is doing in any given situation. If they see one of their favorite players, like if Draymond is their favorite player, for example, God forbid, and they see Draymond like punch somebody, then they're gonna they might look up to him and get violent as well. And that's something that like the league obviously doesn't want, and they want to change that reputation. So it's obviously it's not something that is for this league. So given how Isaiah Stewart is not really important to the Pistons right now, especially with how the Pistons are doing as a team and their team record, is it really that important to keep Isaiah Stewart on your roster? I mean, like, if he's going to, like, cause all of these anger issues, if he's going to, like, bring anger issues to the team, and if he's going to, like, get himself in all of this trouble while you're trying to rebuild your team, is that really, like, a good help I feel like I feel like that's just a distraction for the Pistons that they don't really need at this time, especially for someone who's as expendable as Isaiah Stewart. And I don't want to be mean or anything, but I mean, Isaiah Stewart he's a role player for the Pistons, and it's not like I don't think the Pistons would lose sleep if they ended up losing him. So, with that in mind, I personally think that the Pistons should just get rid of him, like, at this rate, and they should waive him. And if any team wants to pick him up, then any team can go ahead and pick him up. But I feel like it's just a distraction, and that's one thing that, like, you don't want a rebuilding team to be forced to, like, have, like, a bunch of cameras being faced on you, because now the talk isn't even going to be about them focused on the season. Now it's going to be, like, focused on how do they feel about Isaiah Stewart and the situation that's going on with him right now. And the focus is going to be, like, off of completely rebuilding and just on Isaiah Stewart for the moment. And if the court case, like, if it continues, and if it grows to be a big thing, then it could lead to just more distraction. And that's just something that, like, the league that's something that, like, the team shouldn't be asking for. And it's not something that, again, for someone like Isaiah Stewart, like, is holding on to him really that necessary? Like, in my opinion, I don't think holding on to someone like Isaiah Stewart should be seen as a necessary move, because it's like, why hold on to him? There's no need to hold on to him if he's going to be causing all of these kinds of problems off the court, or if he's going to be causing all of these problems on the court with LeBron James in that other incident that he had a few years back. Like, it's unnecessary. And now, a lot of you might think, oh, well, if you think that that's a distraction, why didn't you think Draymond was a distraction? Well, the difference between Stewart and Draymond is that Draymond is actually very valuable, like, as a player for that team, and he's a great teammate. So there's a lot of things that a lot of players can learn from with Draymond, and other than punching someone in the face. But, like, his offensive game in terms of scoring is lacking, but in terms of decision making, like, it's all there. And his defense is also phenomenal, and it's like he brings all of this immense value to the franchise. So trying to get rid of him is much more difficult, and given, like, the amount of value that he brings. So it's like you deal with those distractions because you know you're getting a high caliber player, and you're getting a player that is going to bring in their best game day in and day out. You're getting a player that is going to play confidently throughout the entire game, and you're getting a player that is going to provide on the defensive side of the ball, which is a facet of the game that isn't really touched upon as much as it should be in the NBA. So that's sort of the difference there between Isaiah Stewart and Draymond, and why I feel like the Pistons should they get a lot more good out of getting rid of him in the lineup than they would keeping him in the lineup. But that's all I really got to talk about with the Pistons. So I'll talk about, like, some of these games that are going to be coming up tomorrow, since, like, the season is going to be coming back at full swing. The Lakers, they go up against Golden State at 10 o'clock. That's probably going to be the most viewed game for the NBA tomorrow. It's another LeBron and another Steph Curry matchup. Obviously, like, it's a very expected matchup that everyone wants to see. And the Phoenix Suns, they also go up against the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll see if Kyrie decides to participate in this game. But if he does, it would be a great matchup between there's beef between the Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. Luka seems to always get the best out of Phoenix in the postseason. So there's obviously, like, some beef between the Suns and Luka, Devin Booker and Luka. And, of course, the beef between Kyrie and Kevin Durant. There's not really much beef between those two players, but they obviously, like, they played on the same team with Brooklyn, and they separated after disappointing everybody in Brooklyn. So the matchup between those two is going to be very expected, and I expect a great game from both of them. And the Clippers, they match up against OKC. It's not going to be broadcasted, unfortunately, because, you know, the Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors game is going to be going on, and those are going to be the two popular games. Those are the primetime games. But the Clippers, obviously, they're a great team, as well as OKC, so it'll be very interesting to see which of those teams will pull out in the end. And a lot of teams play today. The Denver Nuggets, they play against Washington. That's an easy win for Denver, in my opinion. Boston plays against the Chicago Bulls, another easy win for the Celtics. The Brooklyn Nets, they play Toronto. I think that the Raptors are going to end up winning this game, but we'll see towards the tomorrow and what, because anything can happen in these games. Again, I personally don't think that anything positive is going to happen with the Brooklyn Nets, given how it's going to be the first game with Kevin Ollie as the head coach, and he needs to make all these adjustments, play with a really mediocre team, so it's going to be tough. But there's also a lot more games. I'll talk more about them tomorrow when I'm going to go on my podcast again. And I'll just give a little recap of all the games that are going to be going down tomorrow at around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 7:30. But with that, that's the end of this podcast, and that's the end of this segment. So thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. And as always, I remind you guys to please remember to tip and to donate to get your comments recognized. The link is in the description, as well as displayed in the ticker of every single show segment. streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself, the host, you guys, the viewers. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. But with that, that is the end of the show. I am your host, Nelson. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit.